I really like when the Big 12 moves it around. The Big Ten's not doing that. The ACC is kind of settled on Charlotte. I get the fact that Oregon earned it, but I still don't like it.
No. And the final game, a game I consider to be the game of the week, not a conference title game per se, but the winner wins the conference championship. Oklahoma State. Who do we got?
Because of what I said on radio yesterday, I'm going to stick with that, even though I'd like to change it now. I'm going to go with Oklahoma State. It's in Stillwater. They have not beat Oklahoma since 2002. That was in Stillwater then. I think the last 3 or 4 years, it's not been that close in Norman, but they have been very close, entertaining games, like the game of the weekend when it's been in Stillwater. And I kind of have a feeling that, Oklahoma State with their offense, Oklahoma's been really banged up this year and has a lot of guys out. And also they had 3 or 4 guys that supposedly were saying, well, we're going to come back for our senior year, or Landry Jones, Jared for the junior year, because we're going to try to make a run at the national title. And it looked like it was probably out against Texas Tech, definitely out against Baylor now, and now they're playing for a Fiesta Bowl that they've been to 4 out of the last 5 years. And I'm sure they want to win this game. I think no matter what, it's a letdown season for Oklahoma, though, and I think Oklahoma State, for the first time in 9 years, finally gets the W.
I was going to make some sort of crack about the Fiesta Bowl and OU going there again, because that would be the scenario I have. But Oklahoma State will be fired up to go when they win, if they win. And I would say, you kind of mentioned some of the guys, Landry Jones, they don't have Ryan Burroughs. Oklahoma has failed to meet expectations this year. You've got to have something to play for. BCS Bowl is a payday for OU. They got to, if they win, they go. I think that's something they got to shoot for. I just feel like Oklahoma State, and they did it against Iowa State, kind of builds you up to knock you down a little bit. So I think OU by the slimmest of margins.
2 weeks ago, I would have went Oklahoma. But I'm going Oklahoma State here. I don't know if I said this when I said this, but I think my bold prediction was that they would make a BCS Bowl for the first time ever. And they need to win this game for that to happen.
Yep.
And they are the only team that can get up above Alabama to play LSU. Go to Charlie for this one. The scenario that you see where it's not LSU Alabama, but it's LSU Oklahoma State.
The scenario for Oklahoma State to get in, like you said, and I don't know how great of a chance this is, but they're the only other team that even has a chance. I think LSU's in regardless. This would not be the first time the teams lost their last game if they would lose to Georgia and then still play for the national title. That precedent's been set. But the thing that I don't think anyone's talking about is Oklahoma is still a top 10 team. Well, I'm pretty sure that I think they're in the top 10 still. And even with injuries, they still have the name recognition. They're playing Oklahoma. That's a big game. And not if they win, but if Oklahoma State goes out and wins by, say, 24 points, I think you'll get a lot of people, kind of like in 2006 when Florida jumped ahead of Michigan, that people will start saying, well, these two teams already played. This team has won their conference title. We don't really want to see a rematch again, because whether that should play into it or not is another story, but there will be a lot of people that won't want to see a rematch of a game earlier this year. There are a lot of people, when it's happened, that have been very upset or agitated with you didn't win your conference, you shouldn't be in. They will not have even won their own division. And the really crazy thing, as much credit as the SEC gets, if you look at who Alabama played and who Oklahoma State played, I think Oklahoma State has played not a dramatically harder schedule, but a considerably, at least, more difficult schedule throughout the year. I think Alabama has beaten a very good LSU team and a pretty good Arkansas team, and that's about it. And with Oklahoma State, if they can say we beat Texas, Texas A&M, and Oklahoma, and Baylor,
and
better than they look, not a great, but a better than they look Missouri team, I think that will push them. Or if they beat Oklahoma handily, they would have a chance to go ahead, because they're ahead of Alabama as of Saturday at least in the computer polls. They were second there, and if they could get one of the coaches of the Harris poll to bump them up to 2, and as long as I think if they would be like second, or well, if they're second in both of them, they'll go obviously. They'd be second in one and third in the other. I think they could. I think the other big thing that would help them would be if Clemson upsets Virginia Tech, because Virginia Tech's ranked ahead in the human polls. So I think if Virginia Tech wins, it might not matter either way, but that's where we could really have, you know, the interesting Sports Center 10, 11 o'clock at night, people going, oh geez, I really need to think about this. We could have a lot of crazy stuff happening in the next 14 hours.
Yeah. I think you kind of you covered it very well, Charlie. Nice job. I would say that in 06, I was reading the story about how in 06, our guy, Urban Meyer, and our other guy, Percy Harvin, were quoted as saying, no, Michigan and Ohio State had their chance to play each other. We're anti-rematch. And now the SEC, funny as it is now,
we want that.
We want the rematch. I think I mentioned in an earlier show that I am against the rematch, but I'm pretty sure it's going to happen. Now, Charlie makes a pretty solid argument that if should Oklahoma State beat Oklahoma pretty handily, then they deserve to be in the championship. I kind of poke holes in your argument a little bit in saying that Texas would be a quality win of any sort.
Well, teams that would be going to bowl games.
I know what you mean. Yeah, I know what you mean. And the SEC is, outside of that top 3, I would say it's pretty down. When you cross off Georgia.
Yeah, they didn't play Georgia.
Right. So, I think Oklahoma State will have beef if they don't get in, which people seem locked in on LSU Alabama rematch. I would like to see the 10 o'clock Sports Center with the people just racking their brains, they're shuffling through the papers. Well, who's next? Who can we put in there?
This is the thing I don't like about it the most is ESPN covers so much stuff, and they're just saying it's a foregone conclusion, and no one else is even talking about this. So now you have people that aren't even looking at it as a possibility, and maybe it's not, I don't know.
Yeah.
But when you don't even have, they're just, oh, no, this is what it's going to be. Doesn't matter.
Because you mentioned
Alabama doesn't have to play their end. LSU can lose by 30 their end. It's like, well, I mean, if you guys are going to spot yourselves off as the worldwide leader in sports and all this stuff, maybe you should have at least 1 or 2 people saying, well, let's look at it from this perspective, and at least kind of, let's play with it hypothetically and see how things could look.
Yeah, you mentioned the one aspect that they need to have, and they've got the computers. So
I said Oklahoma State's the only team that can vault Alabama. And as odd as this may sound, if Oklahoma State would have beaten Iowa State and be undefeated, I would change my pick to Oklahoma.
Yep.
Knowing that Oklahoma State's got all the pressure on them, knowing that if they do win this game, they are automatically in. But now, there's not as much pressure with them having that one loss. You mentioned another team with one loss, Virginia Tech. They lost to Clemson. They had a chance to beat the team that beat them. How much does that make a difference? I'm looking at the Virginia Tech and saying they beat the team that beat them.
I don't think it makes it a big difference, only because I know in '99, Florida State and Virginia Tech played for the national title. Nebraska was 1 or 2 most of the year. Lost to Texas in Austin. Came back. Beat Texas reasonably handily in the Big 12 title game, so they beat the team they had lost to. And Virginia Tech got it ahead of them. Now, the one difference, Virginia Tech was undefeated. Nebraska wasn't. But it didn't matter. The problem you run into also is if you want to get a quality win at the end of the year. So you want to win handily, but if you win too handily, then it doesn't look as good either, because then the team you're beating doesn't. It's like if you win by 24, that's okay. If you win by 40, it looks bad. If you win by 4, it doesn't look that good. And it's just kind of the weird, I guess, Pandora's box of the whole situation.
Yeah. I think Virginia Tech, despite being up in the polls, outside of maybe beating Clemson this weekend,
there are no good wins.
What win do they hang their hat on? They don't have one. I think it's kind of going to be on Oklahoma State. I think regardless whether they make it or not, we will hear from Billy Pickens his opinion on Oklahoma State, whether they were screwed or whether they are saved in this proverbial Pandora's box that we were in.
And with the whole Oklahoma State thing, I think they'll win. I don't think they're going to win by 3.5 or 4 touchdowns, so I don't think it's going to matter.
I hope they do win by 3.5 touchdowns. It does get the field goal.
Thank you. We talked about the big time college football. To whet your appetite now for the FCS level, we'll talk about the FCS playoffs coming up next. You asked for it, and by God, we're going to give it to you. FCS.
I love it.
Playoff talk. We know our audience, so we're going to pander to them. They had the 4 games last weekend. Now we know the 16 teams that are going to vie for the national title. First off, do you see any of the top 5 seeds going down? And if you don't, maybe what's one of the teams that could possibly be on upset alert?
I don't see any of the top 5 seeds going down. The one team I'll put on upset alert is UNI, simply because they went out early last year, I believe, to Lehigh. Is that correct? Yep. And now this year have Wofford, the Wofford team coming to the Unidome. I would say that's something to keep an eye on. Sam Houston State should be good enough to get through the next round. NDSU should be okay at home. You've got who else we got? You got Georgia Southern, they'll be fine, and then Montana should be okay to get through the next round. So I think UNI, just in the fact that they lost early last year.
I think I'm mostly with Traxler. I think that when he said the top 5, I think they'll probably be fine.
You have North Dakota State now looking at them. How far can they go? They have, obviously, they play next week. If they win, they have the Lehigh-Towson winner, and you have Towson, the champions there of the Colonial.
That's right.
And you have them bowing out to Lehigh.
I do. I think Towson is a tad overrated. That's a good conference, and to go 9-2 in that conference is pretty strong. I'll take kind of the track record that's with Lehigh, being a pretty good program. And NDSU, I think, will handle this weekend against James Madison. I think they'll be okay next weekend at home again. The big matchup I kind of see is when they run into Georgia Southern in the semis. That's a team that was supposed to come to Fargo, I believe, this year and ended up getting canceled. And Georgia Southern's always brought up a good team, so I think that will be the one to keep an eye on as we go down the road. But I like the Bison to cruise through this round.
I think there's a good chance they could go a long ways. I mean, they're the 2nd seed. I mean, they're the 2nd seed for a reason. They're plenty talented. And like I've said, and I'm not just saying this because I know we have some North Dakota State fans that watch. This is being serious about it. I mean, I think, that they're very good. They play, like I said, they play kind of like the early 2000 Patriots, where you look and you say, oh, well, maybe they're not as talented or yada, 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 but they don't make mistakes. They do exactly what they're supposed to do. They play very well. And if you kind of want to take they lost in controversial fashion last year. If you want to take kind of the 80s mantra, or they got us and we're not going to let it get up to decisions like that. The 80s montage song in movies kind of thing. We're gonna prepare now. I mean, I think there's a chance. Maybe they could use that as some extra motivation. Obviously, they're motivated because they got a great seed and a great shot to play well. I mean, I don't know if I can sit here and say that they're going to win it necessarily, but I think they're going to do pretty well.
I will peg. Now I forgot what I was going to say.
You're going to peg something for something.
Peg something. Oh, I will say the one thing that caught NDSU when they lost to Youngstown. Well, Brock Jensen didn't have his best game, and I've kind of wondered, how well can he play. He's done a great job this season. There's no question about that. As far as who takes him is where the Bison will go. Yeah, they have a great defense and a really good running game, but Brock Jensen holds the keys to that team, and as far as they're going to go. So that about sums it up for the Bison